Texting. Welcome back to the mid-sack on a thirsty THC Thursday. I am the highly questionable one, Arjun Miliaccio. Flying solo tonight. The redoubtable one is on assignment. We will hopefully be back on Monday. Welcome to IDD. For those of you I don't disagree, segment 1, NBA playoffs. Boston Celtics closed out the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. In somewhat dramatic fashion, given they were missing 3 of their top 6 players, which we found out Caris LeVert was a scratch before the game went up. So Cleveland was totally depleted. But to their credit, they kicked, scrapped, fought, clawed like a team that wasn't going to go quietly, and they didn't. Because in the fourth quarter, at one point it was a 3-point game, and then Boston, towards the 4 or 5 minute mark, put together 3 minutes of actually quality basketball and put them away. The rest of the night, other than Jason Tatum, who I thought great game all around, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals. He was good. Al Horford, who to me was the hero of the game, 22 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks. 35 minutes. Best game he's had in the playoffs in a while. Spearheaded the Celtics. Peyton Pritchard off the bench, another good game, 11 points. And he was 3 of 4 from three-point land. Boston as a team was 19 for 43 from the arc, 44%. That's great. They only went to the line 12 times, but they made 10, 83%. And they had 32 assists on 42 made field goals, which is a stark cry from the game 4 when they only had 15 assists on 38. So, look, they didn't do what I expected and hoped for them to do in terms of, and this was before we knew Caris LeVert was going to be out. I expected a 20 to 30-point bum blasting. It didn't happen. It was tied at the end of 1. It was 6 points at the end of 2. It was still 6 points at the end of 3. So they couldn't shake him. Marquise Morris, the next Celtic, went off. He had 25 points, best play. By the way, he had 7 points in the entire series going into Game 5. He had 25 in Game 5. Mobley, third-year big man, had 33 points. They did contain Garland. They held him to 11. Strauss only had 12. So they shut down their backcourt. But it was really Morris off the bench and Mobley who carried the day for them. Mobley is only in his 3rd year. That kid's he's a power forward. He's got a lot of potential. So, look, give the Cavaliers credit they fought hard in Game 4. Boston won that game 109-102. And again, they were leading throughout but couldn't really shake them. So that's a credit to the coaching staff and those players. They battled. I'm not going to rain on them or piss on them for playing like a team that wasn't gonna give up, because they didn't, and they earned my respect for that. And to some of the guys on TNT, they said, look, when because we always ask the question, how does a team that's depleted, make a showing like that against a far superior talented team? It's twofold. One, the far superior talented team has to no-show or cruise, which the Celtics did for parts of those games, many parts of those games. I said before the game that if they let them break 90, this is before I knew LeVert was out, that there was going to be a problem. They almost got to 100 with no LeVert. So, look, I'm not going to crucify them. They won 4-1. They're in the conference finals for the 6th time in 8 years. We don't celebrate conference finals in Boston, so trust me, nobody who's a real Celtics fan gives a shit about that. That's more for the Pink Hats and the pom-pom Pete's, my brothers of the world, to celebrate. This is all about putting up a banner. And if you ask me if they can realistically do it, they realistically can do it. They won't. It won't be because of talent. Obviously, not having Porzingis, depending on who comes out of the West, assuming the Celtics get that far, would go a long way in determining. I can't answer that question right now. Obviously, if they have him, they're better. But depending on who comes out of the West, if it's Denver or Minnesota, they would need him to beat either one of those teams. They probably could get away with it if it was Dallas. Maybe OKC. But certainly in the case of Minnesota or Denver, they would need him if they get that far. Now, look, they're 8-2 at this point, and the only problem with that 8-2 is where those two losses occurred. They occurred at home. If they were on the road, I wouldn't give a shit. But you fought all year to get home court so that you technically don't have to win a road game. It is one thing for Denver to come in here and beat you on your floor. It is another thing for Minnesota. It is another thing for a depleted Miami Heat team to bum blast you by 20-something. And then in the same game, the next round, a depleted Cleveland team to do the same thing, only worse. So those are my red flags right now. They did have 32 assists last night, so they were moving the ball at least. That was encouraging. Tatum played a great all-around game. He played a Larry Bird-like game. That was encouraging. Derek White returned to form. He had 18.6 rebounds, 5 assists. Drew Holiday continues to be consistent, 13 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. The bench, Pritchard again, 11. Cornette in 12 minutes, 8 points. Hauser had 5, so the bench was solid. The Celtics are really 9 deep because Horford comes off that bench if Porzingis is back. The question really is who would you prefer, New York or Indiana? Stephen A. Smith was on today, and he thought because of injuries, the Knicks were the logical choice. That would depend on how injured OG Anunoby is. If OG Anunoby is able to play, I don't think either team should beat the Celtics, even without Porzingis. The Celtics have enough firepower and enough defense to beat both these teams in 5-6 games, if we're being honest. They do. This won't be, and you can point to the Porzingis thing all you want, but if they play defense the way they're capable of, they have more than enough firepower to match Indiana basket for basket, even without Porzingis. They have the depth, they have the shooting, they have the home court advantage, and they play defense. Indiana doesn't play defense. Okay, if Boston wanted to, they could go to the hole 85 times, and all Indiana could do about it is foul them. That's all they can do about it. They're not going to stop you. They don't try to stop you. They try to outrun you, outgun you, and outscore you. If Boston just plays average defense and they go to the basket, they should beat Indiana, even without Porzingis. Probably 6 games, because then they will get hot in 2 games, probably in Indy. But they shouldn't come into ball. See, here's the thing, and this is the thing. I can't say this because 2 depleted teams have already done it. Neither one of the 2 teams that are on the other side should be able to come into Boston and take a game. But we've already seen 2 teams do it that had nowhere near the firepower of the 2 we're talking about, or play defense the way the New York Knicks do. And that's with no Anunoby. So, again, what should they do and what they will do are 2 different things. They're here. If Celtics fans, obviously, I would think would be conventional wisdom would say we're hoping Indiana wins tomorrow night. So it goes 7. If it goes 7, Game 1 wouldn't be in Boston until Tuesday night, so they get almost a week off, which would be great. Al Horford needs the rest. Obviously, Porzingis, the more time will help with him. I think that depending on the matchup and who's healthy for those teams, if they get New York with no Anunoby, I'd be inclined to think they're going to sit Porzingis longer. If they get Indiana, who's healthy, then I would think Game 3 in Indianapolis might be the target. Because if they get the first 2 at home and then go on the road, and he's ready then, which again, you're looking at probably another week and a half, almost 2 week and a half probably, would be the earliest I would expect to see him. If Anunoby is able to come back or the Knicks win, say the Knicks win tomorrow night, Game 1 would be Sunday night in Boston or Sunday afternoon in Boston. That pushes up the timetable. So obviously, the Celtics still get time off. The Knicks don't. It's a quick turnaround if they win, and they're going to come to Boston from Indy, so that wouldn't be easy. And chances are Anunoby wouldn't be able to play in Game 1 anyway. So does that favor the Celtics? It does, yeah. But I think for the Celtics, rest is more important than anything else because Horford logged a lot of minutes in the Cleveland series. He averaged 26 for the season per game. Played 45 and 44 in one game. He played 35 last night, and he was productive. But he hadn't made a shot in like 4 games. He hit 6 threes last night. So hopefully he's coming out of his slump. I'm going to try and stay positive on this one. I've spent the last 24 hours going back and forth with the Pink Hats and the Pom-Pom waivers, and who want me to give this team flowers for getting to the conference finals for the 6th time in 8 years. And I keep coming back, all right, how many of those ended in championships? So I'm not giving them flowers for something I've seen them do time and time again. This is where they flame out. They've only been to the finals once. Okay? So I'm not, I'm going to say cautiously optimistic on this. There are some things that I've seen in the court that I did like. I like how the bench is playing, particularly Peyton Pritchard. I love how Drew Holiday in the last 3-4 games has started to look like the guy we traded for again. And defensively, offensively, he's given us everything. And Derek White, who had a bit of a slump there, he returned to form last night. So Tatum, since game 2, has played lights out. 33, 33, 25. He's had double-doubles in 3 games. He's flirted with the triple-double, 4 steals, so he was playing defense. At least help side defense. So I'm not going to kill him for that. Am I happy? No, but I'm not miserable either. They should have gotten this far. The 2 opponents they faced right now who couldn't push them, they didn't have the manpower to push them. But the fact that Cleveland team played as hard as it did in games 4 and 5 particularly is a feather in the cap of that young Bickerstaff coach. And there was talk today that he might be on the hot seat. Hey, Cleveland Cavaliers brass, you fire those guys, you fire him, you're fucking dumb. You're beyond fucking dumb. You're Cleveland. Because that guy ain't the reason you lost to the Celtics. Your injuries were the reason you lost to the Celtics. Okay? It's that simple. You were too depleted to stay with a team of that kind of firepower, even when Boston fell asleep at the wheel. Okay? Because all I do is wake up. I mean, honestly, last night, in a 48-minute game, Boston probably played 14, maybe 16 minutes. 16 is probably being nice. Probably 14, 13 minutes of good basketball the whole damn night. And they won by 15 points. And again, here's the problem. I'm getting sick and tired of people saying human nature when it comes to the Boston Celtics. Human nature doesn't fly anymore. Not with the history of this team and their history of and track record for choking and flaming out. Human nature doesn't come into the equation anymore if this team is what they think they are. Because the sense of urgency, the frustration, it's all got to build up. You can't be sitting there going, all right, well, this team's missing these guys. And by the way, now that they've blown 2 home playoff games to undermanned, injured teams, common sense would tell you they're not going to do that again. But as I've said before, and their history shows, the Boston Celtics are devoid of common sense. They just are. And Al Horford admitted as much in the post-game press conference when he said, look, in the first quarter, we didn't match their intensity. We were cruising. Second quarter, finally, we got it going. I was trying to give us a spark, get us going, get the crowd. He knew it. Al Horford knew it. So if Al Horford's admitting that, then don't get on me and the diehard fans who were saying what Al Horford said in the postgame. They came out flat. They just cruised. They just matched the basket for basket. They didn't care. And again, this is what the Boston Celtics and these Pink Hats don't seem to get. When you don't snuff out a team early, when you should, you give them hope. You give them confidence. And the game, as I've said time and time again, is 90% mental. The first thing you want to do is take away your opponent's confidence. You have to put it in their head, they can't beat you. And one 20-point blowout in game 1 on your turf isn't going to do anything. They didn't even flinch. They came back and blasted you in game 2. So, and if Donovan Mitchell didn't get hurt, I can assure you this series is not over. I'll tell you that right now. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't get hurt, this series is still going. Promise you that. So, Boston has to take advantage of this and learn from it. Learn from it for once. Okay? Stop with and I hate Mazzulla's answers on these because they're just so cop-out. They're so, he never, ever, ever holds his team accountable. He never sits there and says, well, we just didn't bring it in the first half. We should have. He says, well, there's ebbs and flows, and this is the playoffs, and that team out there is fighting. They're not going to go out. He's giving all of them the credit, and that's fine, but he doesn't once say, look, they played hard, yeah, but we didn't match their intensity. He doesn't even say that. And it's getting old. It's getting old. And for a team with the kind of talent, the people that they brought in, Boston should be undefeated. And if they lost, again, let's be fair here. If they lost those 2 games on the road, if they lost one in Miami, one in Cleveland, okay, I would understand that because the team home game usually can steal. I get that. But to come into your building after you blew them out and they come back and they blow you out? No, you don't give them a pass for that. You don't give them a cookie for that. No. And then they wake up and they blow them out on their own floor. That proves to you that they didn't show up in Game 2. Where the fuck was that intensity in Game 2 when you had a chance to... I mean, if you go up 2-0, maybe they panic. But now it's 1-1 going back home and they've got confidence. And yeah, you can win on the road against depleted teams. But I got news for you. They pull that shit against Minnesota or Denver. They ain't going in there and winning if they give up a home game like that. It won't happen. It won't happen. Those teams are too good. I don't know if that would happen with Dallas or OKC for that matter. Any one of those 4 teams can beat the Celtics. Okay? Now, again, as I said earlier, if they face Dallas or OKC without Porzingis, they could beat them with a home court advantage. I don't think they can beat Minnesota or Denver without him. So he's got to come back at some point. And by the way, nobody knows the timetable for his return, which is the other problem. Okay? Brad Stevens, I thought, handled this very well in the regular season. They managed his minutes. He rarely played back-to-backs. They kept him on a tight leash in terms of his stamina and his durability because he's had a problem with it. Okay? And then Missoula fails to take him out in game 3 or whatever it was when he was limping on one end, but he doesn't take him out right away, and then he pulls the calf on the other leg because he's overcompensating. So Missoula doesn't have any self-awareness. And again, he was the worst coach any team had going into the playoffs. He is still the worst coach of any team left in the playoffs. And that doesn't bode well when you're trying to win a championship. He doesn't adjust on the fly. He adjusts after the game. Good coaches can adjust within a quarter or within a half. Missoula hasn't shown the ability to do that. And until he does, he is a red flag on this team. He just is. And there's no way around it. And I got news for you. There is an expert out there that would disagree with me. Because I already heard them in not some certain terms, but verbatim, they've hinted at it more than once. They have. So, look, they've won. They're here. They get to put their feet up for at least a couple more days. Hopefully, again, the Pacers can win tomorrow night and force a Game 7 on Sunday, and then who knows. But I'd love for them to have till next Tuesday to figure this out than rather have to play on Sunday just for Porzingis' sake and Al Horford's sake. I think Al Horford, especially after his performance last night, because he played great. Al Horford deserves a couple extra days rest. So hopefully that happens. Tonight, I don't know if you saw this, the bum blasting continued. This time it was Denver who got bent over. Minnesota on the brink of elimination said and bent them over and forget the lube, a size 13. Right after Jokic's performance in Game 5, Minnesota looked like the team that blasted them in the first 2 games. So they won 115-70. That's a 45-point bum blasting for those of you scoring at home, boys and girls. Now, there were bum blastings, and then there were bum blastings. Okay? This was a double bum blasting. Okay? They didn't take... This is what it looks like when you don't take your foot off the gas, Celtics fans. The pink hat ones. Okay? 45 points. I didn't think anyone could beat a healthy Denver team by 45 points in a single game. I don't care where it's played. But Minnesota did tonight. Boy, did they. Which sets up an amazing Game 7 over the weekend. I can't wait to see that one. Because now it's about, all right, this is going to be a rock fight. Whether it's Saturday or Sunday, it might be Sunday. So looking forward to that one. But tonight in Minnesota, Anthony Edwards 27 points. They held Jokic to 22 and like 3 assists or 2 assists and 3 turnovers. They really put the clamps on him. Rudy Gobert answered the call when he was getting called out by every professional making fun of him. He did an excellent job on defense tonight. They just didn't let him breathe. Murray was awful. They blanketed Murray. He was 1 for 10. They shut down both of Denver's best players. I didn't know anybody could do that, but Minnesota did. And it's not the first time they did. So Game 7, I believe, is on Sunday. That should be a hell of a Game 7. I totally recommend checking that one out. And then Dallas won Game 5 last night in OKC. So they have Game 6 tomorrow night in Dallas with a chance to close them out. OKC, we're going to find out a lot about you because now you're going to have to do it again. You did it in Game 4 only to come up and choke in Game 5. OKC's kind of choking here. They kind of choked last night. Every time they tried to make a run, they would shoot themselves in the foot by pulling a Boston Celtics and start jacking threes. And it was brick, 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 brick. And if I was Denver, I'd probably have a flashback to the Celtics going, wow, who does this? This reminds us of someone. But every time they get under 10, they start jacking threes, and the lead would go back up to 15, 16. So just stupid basketball by OKC. Stupid basketball by a young and inexperienced team. So they have an excuse. They're young and inexperienced. The Celtics don't. Okay, so, but Game 6 is tomorrow night. OKC certainly is capable of going into Dallas and winning again, but they're going to have to extend their season. We're going to come back. Oh, by the way, the question remains, and put it in the comment section below, who do you think who would you prefer the Celtics get? Indiana or New York? So if you have a take on that, tell us who and why you think they would be better off, better served. Me personally, they both present different problems. It depends. If New York doesn't have OG Anunoby back, sure, because they're not going to be able to stop him. But if he is back, I'd probably want the Pacers, because the Pacers don't stop anybody. So, anyway, I'm going to return segment 2 real quick. Boston Bruins. Jeremy Swayman standing on his head. Avoid elimination. Force a Game 6 tomorrow night. We'll talk about that. Segment 2 coming right up.